Hello and welcome to another episode of First Gen Talks. Today I have a very special guest, Jaha Williams. Can you please introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Jaha Williams. I'm the Chief Development Officer for Student Success here at the University of Houston. Go Cougs. And I am a first gen college student.
Yeah, so just right off the bat, how was your journey to college? Was it a guarantee? Was it something you knew you wanted, or was it just something that you stumbled upon? Can you explain a little bit about that one?
My journey to college was in no way, shape, or form a guaranteed journey. I didn't realize that I wanted to even go to college until probably my junior year.
Hmm.
My mom my mom is from the South, and where she grew up. Just her finishing high school, getting married, and having children was their idea of success. So
Hmm.
when she graduated from high school and her soon-to-be husband, had joined the military, and that's how they ended up in Seattle. I'm originally from Seattle, and and I'm the youngest of four.
Hmm.
I have older siblings, and they are 17, 18, and 19 years older than me. So that was a big generation. I mean, gap. They were old enough to be my parents, essentially.
Right.
So by the time I was a early childhood, by the time I was in middle school, they were all gone. As a matter of fact, two of them had moved to Texas,
Yeah.
and one had moved to Los Angeles. So I was essentially an only child growing up. The journey wasn't while my mom supported me in every way she could. She We didn't talk about going to college a lot. It just
Hmm.
wasn't really talked about. My response, my I remember vividly going to her and saying, "Mom, I have to take this test. I
Hmm.
want to go to college. I have to take this test, and this test will determine if I can actually go. Can you write
Right.
me a check for $40 and drop me off with a number two pencil?" And she, no questions asked, she did. So she took me up there, and those I filled out all of my paperwork. I handled, because we didn't have computers then.
Hmm. Yeah.
So
Right.
we
Right. Right.
filled out the paper form of the FAFSA and mailed it off, and took my SATs, and I was off to the races. And I would say, you know, the hardest part about it, that journey is preparing, is I was still very young. I was 17. I didn't turn 18 until I finished my first semester of college.
Hmm.
So it was just a big, and then I moved to a place far away, 3,000 miles away. I went to Southern University in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. No family, no friends there. And I had to figure it out.
Hmm.
And
And you figuring out how is that? Because I can't imagine myself just like leaving the state with. I mean, not the yeah, the state with like no guidance. It's like no, you just kind of figured out all at once. How was that?
it was scary.
Of course.
It was a long time before I, had these types of conversations that, to share how I was feeling, like genuine fear. One, because I wasn't sure that I was worthy enough, or
Mm.
if I could, if I was ready, if I had the college readiness, and I wasn't. I knew I wasn't early on. I didn't know what was happening, but that's was my biggest fear. And for me, failure wasn't an option.
Mm. Right.
So I just kind of had to face that fear and, figure it out on the way there. And it wasn't easy. I remember I did get a scholarship. It wasn't much, but at the time, college wasn't as much as it is now either.
Mm.
I got a Southern alumni scholarship. It was like $1,000 every year. I didn't have very many merit or scholarship or other scholarships because I didn't have the grades. I had made some poor decisions in my freshman and sophomore year in high school, and I spent my junior and senior year in high school trying to make up for those decisions.
Mm.
So it was a journey, definitely.
So fast forwarding a bit here at University of Houston, how do you land a job? How do you end up in University of Houston?
Well, I started. So I have a master's in public administration, and my undergrad is in political science. My master's is from the University of New Orleans, and while I was there, I worked for the energy company there, and they paid for me to get my degree, but I was also like the youngest,
Mm,
and so every year they did some volunteer opportunities with the United Way, and I was voluntold that I
mm,
had to support that, and so I did that while I was going to college, and that was the beginning, unbeknownst to me, that was the beginning of my fundraising career.
mm,
So I started as a fundraiser, just as the volunteer, and then I changed jobs. I went to work for United Way and got some experience there. And then by that time, Katrina hit,
mm,
and
right.
it that my me and my family relocated here to the Houston area. I continued to work for the United Way there, but wanted something deeper, so I moved into higher education, fundraising. So I started working for the University of Houston system. I started the downtown campus in
Mm,
2011. And when we launched the public phase of the first campaign at the University of Houston, they asked me to come down and oversee the fundraising for College of Education. And then the rest was history. I've been
mm.
here. That was in 2016, and I've been here ever since.
So, wait, what is United Way? I'm not.
United Way is a social service nonprofit
Mm,
organization,
okay.
and it's national. It's probably one of the most recognizable in the world. And it's an awesome training ground for people who are interested in nonprofit support and engagement.
Hmm. So, during college, were you like active on campus? Were you in part of orgs? And like, how did you? Because you said you're full of fear. How did you kind of break that like that the wall of fear? How did you go through it?
Well, so it was interesting because I ran track in high school.
Mm,
And then I didn't have the encouragement to do, I was going to try to walk on at Southern, and I didn't do that. And so I found my way. I wasn't very active.
mm,
I was doing well just finishing school, you know, just because I didn't have, like I said, I didn't have the support, and I was still trying to figure it out early on. I mean, I found my way,
mm,
but no, I wasn't as active, and that's something I regret. I wish I
mm.
could have been as more active.
Yeah. So going back to the University of Houston. So could you explain a little bit of what you do for students and the fundraising and all that great stuff?
Yes. So in a nutshell, I raise money predominantly for scholarships.
Mm,
As you may have heard, the president has challenged her team and the university to raise $100 million in scholarships, which is part of the $1 billion campaign.
mm.
So I oversee that, the fundraising component for that for our students.
How come I haven't heard? You haven't heard of this? $1 billion?
Oh, yes. This is
What?
the second $1 billion campaign. The
When was the
first
first?
one was called the Here We Go campaign,
Okay.
and we raised $1.2 billion for student success and beautification of campus, a number of things, a number of athletic support. And that
Have
ended in 2020, and we finished that campaign about 18 months early,
mm,
in over goal. And so
so
our
just on it.
president,
Just on it.
yes, and our
Holy.
president is she's such an awesome leader, and she encourages us to see the future and envision, understand her vision, and she just brings you into her vision, and so we're following her lead.
So how does that look, raising $1 billion? Like, I can't to be honest, I was like, "What, you're raising $1 billion? Like, how does that look like?"
Well, so it's a collective effort. The president establishes the priorities. They break off, this $1 billion.
Right.
How much are we challenged to raise for each component of that?
Hmm. And, like, off camera, you mentioned that, you're going to a Cougs game tonight. Is that part of it or
No, I
no?
cannot take any credit for it. It is strictly our basketball team and
Mm,
Coach Sampson that has
Coach Sampson.
that
Yeah.
has really, led that side of the aisle up to do great things.
Yeah.
And so it's Sweet 16. University of Houston is playing Illinois.
Mm.
So I want to encourage you all to will they see I think they'll see
By the
it.
time today, no.
No, they
But,
won't see it in time. By that time, my hope is that we made it to the Final Four.
yeah, if they make it They're for sure gonna see this though,
Yes.
so
If we don't make it, then you can cut this segment out. So yes, we're playing at the Toyota Center tonight at
Yes.
9:05 is the tip off. So
Oh, Toyota Center? I thought it was here.
it's at the Toyota. Too many people. I mean, this is a
That's
big
good.
thing. Yeah,
Yeah. Hmm.
exciting. They're doing a watch party down at the Discovery Green today. So get grab some friends after you're finished here and
Yeah.
head on over.
Yeah.
They have
I
a
did
big
not know.
screen set up. It's awesome.
Okay. So if you don't want to talk about this, is fine. But I off camera, I heard that you have sons and they play D1 football, right? So like, and I'm adding on to that. How does your perspective change, not just of higher education, but just like life in general when you become a parent?
Oh wow. Yeah. So to answer your question, yes, I have 3 children. All 3 of them were athletes growing up. 2 of them went on to be collegiate athletes. My oldest child ran track for Arkansas. She
Mm,
was a 400-meter hurdler. Um, and then my youngest is now playing. He's plays for the University, New Mexico State
okay.
University,
Mm,
and he's a receiver for them. He's
nice.
a junior.
So yeah, how did that like impact you? Like, did that change like anything you thought before you were a parent, or was it just like I'm going with the punches?
Yeah, my experience as a child, I always tell people, and I share with my children as well. When you're, people, when you think about it in the parenting component as a child, when you grow up and you start to have your own children, you mimic what your parents did.
Mm,
And then the other part is you learn what they did that didn't necessarily work. And you learn what to do and you learn what not to do.
mm,
And so that's what I did. My husband and I'm widowed now. My children and I are very close,
mm,
and they knew that for me, failure wasn't an option.
mm,
I provided for them. I had a difficult time growing up as a with my mom and my dad, my stepdad, who raised me. And it was mainly me,
mm,
but I learned to take the lessons I learned from them, from my mother, and lessons I learned from my sister. My sister who is I had 2 brothers and a sister, and my sister's the other person in our family who had children.
mm.
So I I learned a lot from both of them in terms of parenting.
What do you think is the biggest lesson you've learned that you applied to first gen and in life in general that you could give to someone?
Be your authentic self.
Mm,
Um, Tomorrow's not promised,
true.
and most importantly, I think for me was you are in control of your own destiny.
Hmm.
I think that's and I try to instill that in my children as well. The biggest things I think they would tell you, I'd say, is life is full of choices, good choices and bad choices.
Right.
But with good choices come good consequences, and with bad choices come bad consequences. But it's your choice still.
Right. Hmm. It's pretty deep. Going back to something more lighthearted. So how does your day to day look like? I know there's like probably busier seasons or like busier parts. Like how does all that work?
Oh, wow. Yeah. So today is a good day. A good
Okay.
day to share with you. So today my schedule, I live in Spring.
Mm,
So I stayed on the north side today knowing that I had a very long day today. So I had a donor visit. I
mm.
went and visited, had lunch with the donor, got some things caught up administratively, and then I headed into town to meet with you.
Thank you.
And my day is only really just starting. When we finish wrapping up here, I'll head over to the Hilton Americas for a donor event,
Mm.
and then from there we'll head to the game. And the game tip off is 9, so I don't anticipate I'll be home till after midnight tonight.
So what is the favorite part of your job?
I'd have to say visiting with donors, and especially those donors who are alumni who received scholarships when they were in school,
Mm,
and then scholarships kept them in school, or scholarships, how the scholarships benefited them, and then seeing them 10, 15 years later being willing to pay it forward.
Mm,
I think that's the favorite part of my job, being able to share stories, listen to their story, and hear them say, you know, Jaha, somebody was here, or they didn't have the support,
mm,
and say, be able to say, I didn't have the support when I was in school, and now I have the means to be able to provide for a student that doesn't have support,
right. And now they want to support.
and now they want to support. I think that's probably the favorite part, being able to come back, report in that we've raised this amount of money for scholarships to support students.
Yeah, actually, on that, did you know any student while they were a student and like a success story essentially that, and then when they got older and they got the means, or anything like that?
Oh, I know a few
Really?
of the donors, or that who are alum, and that, you know, came back, and the stories are so wide. One thing that's common about the alumni here, for decades, is there, you know, early on this university was was mainly a commuter school, and most of the people who have come here, even to this day, they come here and they're worker bees. We're regular common people who, you know, know they have to work hard to get through, to matriculate through. And so they're working, they're going, they're you know, working jobs. And I love that part. I worked 3 jobs and went to school full time to be able to finish in 4 years.
Mm.
So I, you know, I think that that's the most important thing.
Do you have a specific person in mind when you think of like that success story? And like, could you dive into that, or not really?
The first, you know, what really comes to mind is when we were getting, is there's a gentleman who has done well. He's in the landscaping business, and I don't want to say his name without permission,
Okay.
but he told me, I visited with him. I was at the Final Four last year,
Mm,
and we had just launched publicly the Last Mile
mm,
Scholarship, and I had the opportunity to talk to him, to share. We hadn't met before, but we were at an event, and I sat with him and his wife, and we got to talking, and I shared about the last mile, and explained that it was for seniors who are in their truly in their last semester. They have, you know, they have 80 plus hours,
mm,
and so, and they are on the verge of being purged from the system because they had outstanding balances.
mm,
And, you know, he looked and he said, that was me. It
mm.
took me 7 years to graduate.
Oof.
And that donor gave $100,000 to this scholarship
Nice. Mm,
because it was him. So that, I think that's a good idea. And I believe he told me he dropped out a couple of times because he had to go to work, and then
mm.
he'd come back. So it is like the Last Mile Scholarship is the epitome of what he was. So
Hmm.
I think that's a good example. And then I mean, I have several. I have several. I have people I've met. I have a special. I have a couple of special donors. I have one that came here from South Africa and played sports from the for the University of Houston,
Mm,
and she, you know, she didn't know anybody. She just got on a plane and came. She was recruited, and you know, she went on to do great things, and represented the University of Houston well. She's now in our Hall of Fame,
mm,
and she's, you know, she gave back. You know, she's continued to give back on several levels. And then there's those who just saw the need. They weren't necessarily the woman I was visiting with today. She didn't necessarily come from a poor background. I
mm.
mean, her dad worked at MIT. He was a faculty member at MIT. She went to UC
Yeah.
Berkeley, and she worked for ExxonMobil for many years, and she got an education bug, and so she decided she wanted to go back to school. And she got her a master's degree and went into her undergrad was in physics or
Mm,
geology.
mm,
She was a geophysicist, I think, and she went back to school to get an degree, and wanted to teach remedial uh, algebra,
mm,
developmental algebra at the community college, and ended up teaching physics as well after she retired, of course, from ExxonMobil. And she has been a strong advocate of recruiting kids here to the university with minimal cost, and
Mm,
has supported it financially. She's supported, and now she's supporting them getting out in 4 to 6 years with the last mile scholarship. So those kind of things warm my heart. And again, she had the means early on,
right.
so we have a little bit of everybody. Like, we are arguably the most diverse public tier one institution in the country, and in all ways.
Nice. What do you think makes a successful first gen student? In
Ooh, that's a good one.
yeah.
Um, One, to thine own self be true. Remember how impressionable you are when you come to college, no matter if you're first gen, second gen,
Mm,
you're still very impressionable. Um, you're still learning who you are. What it takes to be successful in the classroom is please communicate with your professors.
mm,
You have no idea what it would do to just if you're failing a class or you're failing a test, get tutoring, go see the professor, talk to the professor. I have not met a professor to this day that wouldn't help you if
mm,
you're not helping yourself. So that's definitely one way, one thing I would say. And then the second big major thing outside of the classroom, when it comes to funding your education, is fill out FAFSA forms, whether you feel like you will qualify or not. Um, Always, every year, fill out scholarship applications with the Scholarships and Financial Aid Office, and see, you'd be amazed, see what happens there. And those are the kind of things that'll help you continue to be successful.
yeah. Yeah, that reminds me because we had Ben Montecillo. I don't know. Yes,
Yes.
he's the I
That's
want to
my partner in
oh,
crime.
really?
Yes, it is.
He's the director of
He's
scholarships.
the executive director of Scholarships and
Yes.
Financial Aid.
He told us during that episode that there's, like, hundreds, if not thousands of scholarships that are not applied to. So I always
Yes.
tell students, like, apply.
You never know.
Yeah, that's what he told us. So
And they have a swanky system that they're working on that'll help
mm,
that helps, figure out, filter all of that stuff. So I you just fill out one general application,
mm,
and then they take it from there. And then there's external scholarships
right.
that aren't issued through the University of Houston. But the ones that are here, that are housed at the University of Houston, there are plenty of them.
Mm. You said during university, did you have a mentor?
When I was in college,
Yeah.
no, I didn't.
Did you have one, like, after or that, like, guide you in your career? Or
I did. I did. And I'm gonna give him a shout out. His name is Richard Albine, and he is the CEO of the Alzheimer's Association.
mm,
And when I moved here, I moved here. I was still fairly young. My kids were still young, and my husband and I it was an emergency relocation,
mm,
and so it was a while before. It was a few months before I was able to find something, and so another job. And I went to interview with him at the Association, and of course I was new to Houston, so I didn't realize how really connected he was.
mm.
And I remember halfway through the interview, he asked me, Why do you think you haven't found a job yet?" And I couldn't even answer. It caught me so off guard of him asking. And and I understood where he was coming from, because he felt, I said, I'm not sure, maybe, I'm just not, I hadn't been found the right fit. And he said, no, I think you would be a great fit anywhere.
Mm,
And it was just, I think it was just bad timing, but he took me under his wing. He let me work with him. He gave me we worked on I consulted on an event that was happening with, at the time, it was Jim Nance, as a matter of fact, who was an alum of the University of Houston, and he
mm,
was doing a memory walk, and Richard asked me to work with him on that, and I did for a few months. And then one day he called me in his office and told me that his sister was the president of the Montgomery County United Way. It was his
mm.
sister-in-law. And he got me a job at the Montgomery County United Way because of him. And we've remained in touch. And that was in 2006. So
Mm.
we've remained in touch. As a matter of fact, I just had lunch with him at the beginning of the year. So, and I often remind him that he is a great mentor. He talks to me and he's honest. He tells me, where I could be polished and where I
Mm,
could, need some support. So
yeah.
shout out to my friend Richard.
Shout out Richard. um, yeah. So I heard you mention Katrina. I don't know if you want to talk about this, but I was 1 year old. Yeah, I think I was 1 year old
Uh-huh.
when it happened. So I don't know anything. How was that? Because I know it was like was the word contentious? I don't know. It was like a big. It was like a big moment, at least for here for the South.
Hmm.
How was that?
It was a difficult time
Yeah.
for New Orleanians, for the country.
Right.
When for my husband and I, it was really difficult because my oldest Jada was 8, 7 or 8. She was turning 8 that year, and that the next month. And my middle child was only 5, and my baby was truly my baby. He was 9 months,
Mm,
and we left, and I took a one duffel bag and a couple of packs of diapers, not realizing we would never return.
mm,
So it was a difficult time. My two older children went to my oldest child in that moment, in those 2 to 3 years following, she went to 6 schools in 18 months, and we don't
mm,
go to that many schools
mm.
in our whole career. I have a master's degree, and I didn't go to that many schools.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
it was challenging. Um, we still, and I think they, the children were impacted significantly because
Mm.
of the way they're going from school to school. They were without for a while. They didn't have school. We were just so displaced.
Right.
And my story is 150% better than some of my friends or people who live their story. um, we were fortunate. It was still difficult, but we were very fortunate.
During that time of crisis, would you say that your family was like your anchor or like what pushed you through?
Oh, absolutely. My family, and at the time, my friends from college, they would, most of my friends were from the West Coast.
Mm,
And so I remember times where I was getting boxes to my sister's house. My sister and my brother lived in Austin when this was happening. They still do. And people were sending me clothes.
mm,
When I enrolled the children in school right after, we were the first survivors of Katrina to enroll at Pflugerville at elementary school. And that's where my sister lived. Enroll our two older children into that school, and every day for weeks they would just send stuff home with the kids' diapers. And so in tragedy, in time of need, in time of tragedy, this country really does come together. But mentally it was very difficult. It was difficult for young children, because they were so displaced and chaotic. And it was difficult for people who had families who were missing, still probably not found.
mm. Yeah,
um yeah, but we persevered. We really did, and we've been truly blessed.
it's good. Going to a lighter note, we always do this. I always ask my guests this because I feel like it's a newer thing and it's changing fast. And what are your overall thoughts on artificial intelligence for students, for first gen students, just overall, like like for the younger generation? What do you think? Negative, positive, neutral?
I think I'm a little neutral, but at
Mm,
the same time, it's interesting you ask, because I have, like I said, I had children your age. So we go back and forth with that.
mm, okay.
I think it can be real. I think your generation just really needs to learn how to use it as a tool to support, and not as a tool to
To do the work.
hinder. Yes,
Yeah.
or that they rely on to
Right.
do the work. um and that's something I had to kind of try to work with my kids while I still learn. I also think that on a faculty side, we just have to catch up.
Mm.
The old phrase, "When in Rome." Have you heard that? "When
I've
in
heard
Rome,
it,
do as
but
the Romans."
I don't really know what it means when in Rome. What does that mean? When in Rome?
When you're in an environment that is not yours,
Mm,
you have to learn to adapt to your
I
environment.
see. When in Rome. Right.
So when in Rome, do as the Romans.
Okay. So, and I always ask my guests this question as well. throughout life or, just right now, is there a book that you go to, a movie you go to, a show you go to that inspires you or is like kind of your comfort movie? Is there anything like that for you?
Well, the Bible.
That's a good answer. That's a good
I
answer.
go to. I listen to the Bible. I don't read it as much. I listen to it
Mm,
AI.
okay.
um, and then I do like to watch a lot of TV. I don't watch reality TV. I have my
Mm.
own reality drama going on. I don't need any help. But I do like to watch TV to get away.
Mm,
So I like to watch all kinds of different shows. So I that's my go-to, definitely.
mm. And as far as University of Houston, do you want to have a legacy here at University of Houston and be like, I made an impact. I changed students' lives and alumni.
I'll share another story with you.
Okay.
So yesterday, just yesterday, we had a student who was a recipient of the last mile, and I'm not going to say his
Mm,
name, but we asked him to come and speak. So I asked him to come and speak in front of a large group. My division probably has about 150 to 200 people
mm,
in the division. So we asked him, and I prepped him so he wouldn't be nervous. And usually you're not nervous when you're telling your own story,
right.
and his story was so impactful. Um, his story was the epitome of it was literally the poster child of why we have a last mile scholarship. This young man had his was freshman year. He's a graduating senior.
Mm,
He'll graduate next year next month in May. And he lost his mother
mm,
during the second semester of college here at the university, and he's the oldest
mm,
of four children. And he, if it wasn't for the last mile, he continued to go to school. So I just really admire his perseverance for that during that time of trauma, and I can definitely relate. And but he got a balance. He had a pledge balance
mm,
and or a payment a tuition balance that was significant, few $1,000s, and he thought he would be able to pay it off and was realizing that it would be impossible. And most of the time when our students are faced with those things, the university it's business, it's a business. And so if you don't pay your outstanding balances, you will be purged from the system.
right.
So and when you're this close and you can taste it, you've done all this work. And this young man had definitely been through some obstacles. And he said he just prayed about it, and he just, and he woke up the next day and he found that he checked his balance, and it was paid in full. And that's because the good work that Ben Monticello
Mm,
does. He had identified him as one of the students that needed it, and he got the scholarship, and he's graduating now. Otherwise he would have had to drop out of school, come up with the money to get back in school, and that would have delayed
right.
his finishing. And it's a win-win. Especially with the last mile, it's a win-win because on the one hand, we get to help you you see that light at the tunnel at the senior year. I know everybody gets senioritis. I got senioritis, especially when it's like right there and you're just so sick of school after all that time. And, can you imagine just being right there and then something like this happens and then you can't
Right.
you're at risk for not being able to finish, and that happens more times than not with our students,
Mm,
working students, and they have to make a choice. And so he's a good example of that last mile. He got the scholarship, now he's graduating, and that's what keeps me coming to work every day. He's a perfect example, knowing that I can put a face to the work that I do every day.
that's a good answer. Is there anything else you want to discuss? I think we've been thorough. Let's see if I have any more questions. You kind of answered this one already. You said what you're really proud of, but it's really that impact of students.
Yes. Yes. I think my parting words would be every year, whether you need to or you feel like there's a need or not, apply for scholarships.
Hmm.
talk to your teachers, your professors, and talk to each other and realize that you guys, you think your story is unique, and really this is a university that has several similar stories,
Mm,
several similar backgrounds. And honestly, you will meet people, the people that you meet here today, you will know for for the rest of your lives. You will take at least 4 or 5 with them with you from college through your life,
mm,
and enjoy it. Enjoy this.
mm.
This part is fun. This is supposed to be fun.
This is the fun part.
This is the fun part.
Well, thank you for being on. And with that, as has been another episode of First Gen Talks. Thank you again for being on here, Miss Williams.
Thank you.
And until next time, go Cougs, and hopefully they win
Go
tonight.
Cougs.
Hopefully they win tonight. Thank you for watching.